Well, hello there again, people. Guess we're back. Okay, um, so for this section, as it's aptly called, oh, I didn't change the name on the actual stream, but anyway, I'll change that a little bit later, I guess. We can do that later. So this is the in-game section, and this is gonna be not an easy one. Okay, let me try and explain to you what this book does. You'll see the book on your screen. It's a little bit small, okay, but yeah, it's called Mastering the Endgame, and it's volume one. Okay, now what these guys have done in this book, okay, it's complicated, but what they've done is they have looked at a bunch of different opening types. Okay, they start with open games like Sicilians, stuff like that, where it's an open game. You have an open pawn center, and you can attack, and it goes crazy. Okay, then they look at the general pawn structure that you get from these openings, and then they look at what endgames arise from these openings. So it's basically going through the opening, through the middle game to see what endgames you're going to get in this opening. Okay, now it's important to do this because we play openings, but a lot of the time we have no idea why we play them. We play them because well, the general idea is some middle game thing or whatever, whatever. But a lot of the times you don't realize that a lot of players like Carlson, all the big guys, they I hear no sound. How about you, Wind? Wind, is there sound? Okay, he says it's fine. Yeah, just refresh maybe. I mean, it does sometimes just take a little bit of time, but I'm definitely, I have sound. My little green bar is going nuts. Um, so yeah, so it's important to figure out what end games you're going to get from the openings that you play. Okay. Now, I've never really thought about this very much, which is why I decided that this would be a good thing to do, because this also ties in with what we're doing in the middle game as well, assessing positions and understanding the pawn structures. So, where they're going to start is they start with the Sicilians, so they start with the dragon, which is nice and fun. Okay, cool. Thanks, Alvin. So we're going to start with Sicilian dragons. Okay, so you'll see that we're looking at this from Black's point of view. One of the interesting little quotes that they say in the book is that they say that in general, when back then, when you looked at the statistics of a Sicilian dragon, you would see that if White won, White usually won the game in the first 25, 30 moves. Okay, and if Black won, most of the time Black would have been winning because of an endgame. So longer games tended to favor Black. So the pawn structure, that means, is preferable for Black from an endgame point of view. So we're going to have a look at a game where they start and they look at just the standard Sicilian. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the opening too much. Um, I know quite a lot of openings, just from years of playing, so I know the general ideas and just the general move orders and stuff like that. Okay. Um, so we're gonna look at a dragon. This is fairly standard, all the way up to Queen A5. Should be fairly standard. Okay, so Black's general idea here is something like Rook C8, then Knight E5, and Knight C4. Okay, there's also ideas of Rook takes C3 that White always has to be careful of. Even in Sicilians where even in the Dragon Sicilian where White castles on the king side, there's also this Rook takes C3 stuff. It's a big thing, something to just know about. Obviously, you can read about it a lot. You can even Google it. I'm sure you'll find a lot of stuff on that specific. So let me just see, because I'm looking through a book here, so I'm going to see if they say anything interesting. We're just talking about all kinds of different moves here, which is all very logical. Obviously, White wants to play stuff like King B1 with G4 and H4 and just attack. Okay, so this becomes an attacking battle. There's an interesting line in the Dragon as well called the Chinese Dragon where B5 is played, where they just sacrifice the pawn. I mean, there's three pieces that can take the damn thing, and they just go B5. The hell with you. So, because it gains him a semi-open file as well, okay? There obviously is this nice semi-open file here. It gains him another semi-open file by playing b5, and of course while white is taking the pawn, white is moving his pieces on the queen side and not getting his king side attack going. So that is one of the things to note as well. I'm just going to look here if they're looking at anything else interesting. They also look at black also has possibilities of playing bishop takes g4 after g4. So there are stuff like that that exists as well. I play a line like that almost in the King's Indian, where you play bishop takes g4. For Shall I show you quickly for interest sake? Yes, no, maybe. Um, Let's quickly show it. I just want to quickly show you the line. I've played this a few times now. I actually have a game currently going on in this line. So in the King's Indian, we have that, we have that, we have that. Bishop e2. Oh no, wait. I made a mistake. Sorry. F3. Sorry, my bad. Castle, bishop e3, e5, knight g2, knight here, knight there, g4, and oh wait, I'm a move behind. Hey, sorry, just hold on. There, queen d2, sorry. Rook e8 and g4. Rook e8 is very important in this line. You'll see why later, because the e pawn is going to disappear. Yeah, so here's this little sacrifice idea. So it looks something like that. Because now queen h4 nets you another pawn. So my opponent played queen c2. Did he first take or no? I think he did take first. Yeah, he did take, sorry. They took first. Queen there, check. And then after knight g3 takes bishop f2. And I played e4 first, unleashing this bishop here. Sorry, let me just get rid of that thing. And after takes. So now you can't castle. The position is a little bit awkward. So yeah, I generally do like my position here. Now you have the 3 pawns versus the piece. And of course this rook is already on a good spot. The game has gone quite much further now, but I do like the positions I get. Just out of interest, there is this funny line here, which I've had in the game, and I had to calculate all this stuff over the board. So this is how I came across this, because I kind of just found it in the game when I was playing a proper standard game against an international master, and I did win. This is the move. After there, threatening there, and there check, and of course all the pawns are hanging as well. So you end up getting 2 pawns, well 3, let's say 3 pawns. You end up getting 3 pawns. So let's see if there was something I missed here, because I feel like I'm a move behind maybe. This pawn might be on e4 already. I could be wrong. I think it looks like this. Queen there takes. Oh yes, of course. Now of course if queen f2, then I can just take one of the pawns. Yeah. Sorry. So you end up getting 3 pawns and 2 pieces against the queen. I love it. Yeah. So something like queen f2, and then I think it was takes on here. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember what happens against. No, I think I played this way around, yeah. Because on after f5, the bishop goes here, this knight goes obviously here and to f3 as well, or to d3. So so the setup was beautiful and ended up winning a really nice game. Okay, so there's lots of these sacrifices ideas of bishop takes g4. Okay, so let's go back to the game. Let me just skip forward. Luckily, I can do that with this program. Okay, so we looked at queen a5. Now white did play king b1 and rook c8. Okay, the reason why rook c8 gets played, by the way, and not rook a8, is not so much because you want to keep this rook here as well. It's so that the move bishop h6 does not have such a sting, because you can just move bishop h8 because he can't take your rook anymore. So that's a big reason. Why rook f to c8 as well. Common thing in the Sicilian dragon, just so you know. Okay, so after rook c8, I'm not going to spend too much time on this stuff. Actually, I just want to have a look at something in case I made any interesting notes here, because I did. I did notes. Yes, I know. Okay, so far nothing important, nothing interesting. Okay, so white played bishop b3. Let's just look at a line here. Bishop, yeah. Okay, so I looked at that. Okay, so bishop b3. Now knight e5. Obviously, like I said, the idea is to go knight e5 and knight c4. Because obviously we want to try and trade off this bishop if we can. But if we get the white squared bishop instead as well, that's perfectly okay too. Let me just update my chat here, just in case. Okay, so h4, obvious move, continues on with the attack. Knight c4 continues on with his own ideas. After bishop takes, rook takes, h5 was played. Apparently, knight b3 is better, straight away. After queen d, e5 is a nice little shot. Just getting a lot of extra play here. I'm just trying to see why. e5 obviously just opens up the file, the d file, because then maybe something like g4, g5, attacking the knight when the queen is pinned, the bishop is pinned. You know what I mean? So this diagonal looks really, really dodgy. Oh, I see. If you take here, then we have knight there. There we go. When the bishop can't move. Okay, so this rook suddenly looks really, really weird in this position. So that's a better move for white. But he didn't play that. He played h5 immediately. This is quite an old game, by the way. This was played in 1967 between white was Boaziz and Geller was black here. Okay, so after h5, knight takes h5, g4, knight goes back to f6, and knight b3. The queen goes back to d5, e5, same idea. Now comes the tricky ideas here again. Okay, so this is one of the common things that you will see in the dragon as well, if played correctly. Okay, here white thinks that obviously black will now have to take here, and after this there is some trouble. Okay, you're gonna lose material obviously. Okay, so this is what white thinks, but black has a beautiful counter idea, and it's based on his knowledge of knowing what the endgame is going to look like. Okay, so he goes knight takes g4. Okay, and after pawn takes, bishop takes, now the rook's hanging, rook g1, and pawn takes. Because of course the rook is defending the bishop on g4. Not an easy one to look at, okay? This is quite complicated, not gonna lie. But yes, now if we have a quick look here, we'll see that we are down what? A piece? But we have 4 pawns for it right now. 4 pawns for that piece right now. So as long as these pawns can get going, this is going to just be destructive. So this is one of the things that we have to be very careful, as when a dragon player gets to play things like this, it can go astray very, very quickly. So very interesting. Let's see what he plays. So he trades off. I mean, when you have an extra piece, you do want to trade off. It does seem like the logical thing to do here. Now they're just saying here that obviously Geller saw that with his 18th move, the knight takes, so that the sacrifice is not just a piece but a rook as well. Okay, so he's gonna have to lose another piece as well. Why? Okay, let's see why. Okay, I see. So now you can see that the rook is a little bit trapped, because it has to defend this bishop here. So now, unfortunately, he's going to have to lose the rook. But he saw this. He saw that he is going to have to lose the rook, but he still has 4 pawns against the rook. Okay, but he technically has 5 pawns against the rook for now. He's got 5 passed pawns against this rook, and he's got a very strong bishop pair. Very important to note that he has a strong bishop pair as well. So after knight a5, obviously now we can't protect the bishop anymore. If he goes b4, then a3 and he loses. So if he goes something like that, then after a3 the bishop is dead anyway. Okay, so what's the only move to play? Boom! Beautiful. Love it. So he just sacrifices his rook for that knight. Okay, because now also white has a shattered pawn structure anyway as well. So the pawns that are left on the board, black's pawns are much better than white's ones. Okay, this knight is in a bit of a weird place right now. Okay, so after, let me just see why. Oh, okay. So after h5, protecting the bishop, the knight obviously can't take here. By the way, can't take here because of this pin. Okay, and then if bishop takes, can bishop takes here? I just want to see. Have a look at it. Always have a look at it. I don't think so because rook a8 there and rook a6. And if knight there, then just bishop attacking the knight. So now there's two pieces under fire. So that's not going to work so well. Okay. So after takes and h5. Of course, he just starts getting the pawns going. Apparently played knight b3. What if king c1 was another variation? This at least gives white the chance of taking on b7. Okay, well, obviously. But after knight b3, black is just free to just start pushing his pawns. Rook a8. Yeah. Yes, Alvin. Yeah. You saw. Fair enough, guys. Okay. So now it just becomes a question of how do we get these pawns going really, really nicely. Okay, so this is now, we've come this far. We basically have the 5 pawns, 5 pawns against the rook. Okay, we have current control over the d file, by the way, which is really nice. We also have, let me just get rid of all of this now again. We also have a strong bishop pair. Okay, this knight is out of play currently. It's finding it a bit awkward to play. Okay, he is threatening bishop takes a7 currently. Okay, which we don't necessarily want to defend. I'm not sure. Yes, they can, Chesswind. Okay. So what to play now? I don't particularly want to defend. So something like e4 maybe? Can we play e4? Because of course then we just take on c3 as well. e4? If bishop takes, we take on c3. I like that. I like if we get this kind of idea. Like if bishop takes a7, we get bishop takes c3. Now, of course, this e pawn is looking very strong. I mean, we play that, and they just keep going. They just keep running. I mean, they're just going to go all over the shot. So that looks pretty sad for white, because what's he going to do about it? Okay, so he won't take. So let's say, okay, knight c5, attacking both pawns. But now still remember, the knight can't take on b7. So we don't have to worry about that. Very important to note. Ha! Okay, I just want to see why. Okay. I want to play f5. But, this is a bit of a nuisance. If we do lose the bishop pair, then it's opposite bishops, and white can maybe try and put up a defense then. Because pushing our pawns becomes a little bit harder to do. Because now we have to move the rook. You see, rook a8 and then takes. I'm not so sure about this. This might still be holdable for white. Because now, maybe rook h2 with rook coming in here. Get some counterplay, coming down the board here. Get counterplay on the queen side of the board. So maybe that's not so great. So black finds a really nice move here, apparently, to prevent knight e6, of course. Okay, so he plays rook d6. Okay. Just want to have a look at this now. Okay, so now after... Okay, he can't play knight takes here because of that. Just loses a piece. Knight takes b7 is apparently, let me just check, is apparently what he did play, yeah. So knight takes b7. Okay, I mean we still don't care because this pawn is still dying as well. So rook c6. We want to stay on the sixth rank, guys. We want to stay on this rank because we do want to defend e6 so we can play f5 without any problems. f5, e5, f4. I mean that's our game plan here. So shouldn't be too hard to figure out that one. Um. Okay. What does he play now? Okay, so knight's gonna have to come back. So let's say knight c5, because if knight a5, if knight here, then there's no more threats of him coming to e6, so we can just play rook takes c6 as well. c3. So that looks terrible. Okay, so knight c5 looks obvious. Now we can play f5. Great. Now we have the exact same position, except we obviously play f5 now in this position. Knight b3 apparently played. I mean, we don't have to do much, huh? We just keep going. I mean, okay, rook takes c3 now. Bishop g5. King f7 protecting the e-pawn. King c1, he's trying to get his king closer. Rook c4, not quite sure why rook c4. What's the point of rook c4? Maybe the rook just wants to keep an eye on a4 square as well. He can just swing around to come to a4 as well. Possibly. Possibly. Guy played king d2. Yeah. By king d2. Okay, now we just... Okay, so now he goes bishop c3 check. Okay, so this was maybe why he moved his rook off of that square. And after king d3, e3, e5, this looks devastating. What does white even play? I mean, I ask you, what does white even play? This is looking really sad really quickly. Okay. I'm trying to see what he's going to move now. Because I mean, we even have bishop d4 check. Because if knight takes, then just pawn takes check. And now we got 5 pawns beautifully placed. I mean, the isolated pawns on a2 and c2 are targets for us as well. I mean, the pawns are just coming. I mean, they're not going to be stopped. They are not going to be stopped. Okay, apparently played rook f1. Obviously, he wants to sacrifice on f4 if possible. And okay, the rook comes off of this diagonal where the bishop wanted to possibly go to. A5. Okay, so obviously black is happy with the way that this is structured right now. Okay, all he wants to do now is obviously target these 2 pawns as well, which just makes, winning the game much easier, because white's pieces can't go away from the king side. They have to stay on this side of the board. Am I still with you guys? I hope. Let me have a quick look. Does look like it's still live and still going alright. Don't know why it stopped earlier. Anyway. So after a5, I mean, what do we even play here? Okay, knight. Okay, that's just funny. Okay. What do we play? That's a good man, Chesswind. By the way, Chesswind, where are you from? Yeah, I'm just checking at the time of day, so where are you guys from? Maybe just give me a hit where you guys are from. I think, Alvin, I think you're from the Philippines, I think? If I just remember your flag. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, so just give me a little... I know Axe is from Norway. Oh, you're from Brazil. Okay, Chesswin, cool. I actually have a student from Brazil, starting from tomorrow. Coaching a new student from Brazil, yeah. He is doing a 2-hour session every week. Yeah, this is probably a good idea for me to advertise. I am a coach, by the way. I'm a registered coach on chess.com. I've been at it for 15 years, so I do know a little something. Just out of interest sake, if you play knight d2 here, then bishop d4 is mate. That's just a funny little mate. Nice little trapping the king in here. King has nowhere to go. That's it. Beautiful. So knight d2 is not possible. But what do we play? I mean, I ask you what to play. What to move? It is 8:24 here. I fell from bed and got your channel from Alvin. I already follow. Okay. Cool, Cheswin. Cool. I'm just having a look here at if there's anything else. I mean, okay, so, how does white continue here? Because, he's just slowly, slowly dying. If he goes knight c1 maybe, still this check looks very, very juicy, doesn't it? Just trying to see what we would play now. Okay, so let's say knight c1. I mean, it doesn't look fantastic, but okay. Doesn't matter. Maybe something like check, king goes to d2, and bishop f3. Because now we're going to play f4. So now if the rook moves, let's say here, then f4. Wow. This is looking very, very sad, man. Very, very sad. Now we have bishop e3 as a threat, winning the piece on c1. Yeah, this is falling apart very quickly, isn't it? I mean, I think after a5, which is cute. I like a5 because it's just threatening to chase away the knight anyway. Because the knight has no good squares to go to. c1 doesn't help because then we do have this bishop check. We want to play bishop d4 check. So bishop d4 check with bishop f3 and f4, and finally we've got that central pawn mass going as well. I mean, in this position, if we look at after knight c1, if we look at this position here, it doesn't really matter. We even have king here, then g5 and h4. Yeah, g5 and h4. And we just keep going. I mean, these pawns are just destroying white here. I mean, he has nothing. He has no way of surviving this. So yeah, he can't even try something like maybe that, because there's no way to attack this pawn. And even if he could, we could just play bishop check and we can play e4. So the pawns are not going away. That's the problem. The pawns are not going away. They're still here. They're still pushing. So, I mean, in this position, it just, so, okay, I want to go all the way back and just show you the themes again that happened here. So what happened is that black obviously played the normal plan of rook c8 and of course knight e5, knight c4, and then he had this sacrificing idea on g4 in his head because he knew about it, and he also has a sacrifice idea on c3 in his head. So he combined everything that you would possibly do here for black to get into that favorable endgame. Okay, so the first game was not that hard, I must admit. I didn't really expect it to be that easy. Um, so we'll have a look at the next couple of games. So we're gonna, like I said, we're first doing the Sicilian Dragon and looking what the possible endgame structures are and endgames that you get from the specific opening. And then they move through a couple of the Sicilian options, the usual suspects. There's probably a Najdorf in there, probably some sort of Khan setup, a Scheveningen, the usual things that we get in Sicilians. So we're going to look at all of them. It's a bit of a tedious job. That's why I've been avoiding it my whole life. But, this is now the time for me to obviously start really working towards that GM title. Okay? Because the point is, I want to show that if I can do it and I can stream me doing it, getting there, then any one of you can do it too. That is the goal and the plan. So yeah, so here, as you can see, we played rook c8. Like I said, the whole point of that is to be able to play bishop h8 if they play bishop h6. Okay, now the rook is not on f8. So just so you know why the rook f goes to c8. So yeah, just want to have a quick look. So the knight goes to c4, obviously. Say what? I mean, we're... From what I remember, the John M's book is not bad. It's not bad, yeah. I mean, it obviously has just some general basic ideas of what happens in Sicilian. So it can't be bad. Most of the opening books are not terrible because, let's be honest, it's not that hard to do a book about openings. So here, I just want to look at that again. He played there, he went back, he played knight here, he went queen to d8 and e5, and then we finally had the sack on g4, and then after the pawn takes, obviously we just win the piece back. Just hold on, guys. Skyler, come. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Sorry, guys. Little interruption there from a little baby. Sammy, hey. My dog and babies and all kinds of things. People just arrived at home, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, okay, so yeah, and then obviously we had this issue where we couldn't protect the bishop anymore. This rook had a really big problem to try and defend this bishop. So yeah, so we sacrificed it on c3, and we ended up having basically this 5 pawns against a rook. That is what we ended up having. So yeah, I think, that was actually quite short, but it's okay. Not all of these sessions are going to be that short. So obviously the endgame ones are going to get harder. Like I said, this was surprisingly easy. I'm not unhappy about it, to be honest, because that means I can have a short little break before we start the Grand Chess Tour tournament. If they weren't doing such a great job at commenting, I would have done commenting myself on it. Another thing to look forward to, by the way, as well, is tonight at 7 p.m. CET. So that is in what? 5.5 hours? No. Yes? No. That's in 6.5 hours. Sorry, 6.5 hours time from now. We are going to be doing a simul. Okay. The goal, literally, you'll see I call it the Spartan simul. The goal is literally to get to 300 opponents one day. Okay. I'd love to have this thing grow and see if we can get to 300 opponents. You said rook d5. Okay, let me just go back. Rook d5. When? I'm trying to... Oh, okay, wait. I see what you mean. Takes, and rook d5, you say. Yeah, I'm sure he can just take it. I mean, maybe it's still okay, it does seem like it's perfectly okay as well. But yeah, I think maybe just takes. Maybe you can get a quicker. Let's say we play something like let's say something like c4. Okay, so now you can suddenly see that white is trying to start getting some counterplay, and we don't want that. Why would we want that? So this is something, obviously, again, something you'll see me stressing and book stressing all the time is that if we don't have to give him play, then why would we? Because in this variation, we keep control over the d file, and that's the only file that he can come into right now to actually get anything going. So that is why we don't want to do that. Yeah, and simplifications, well, I mean, look, Elvin, simplifications can also be okay for us because remember, our pawns are really strong. They're just going to run up the board and there's not much you can do about it. But of course, if you can get counterplay on the queen side and start taking stuff and you can push pawns as well, then it becomes a race, and we don't necessarily want a race. Here we just have this beautiful control over the d file, which is the only file for these two rooks to be able to do anything on. So that's why we want to keep the rook on the d file and keep the bishop here, of course, as well. Okay, cool. So just another reminder, I canceled the tactics show for a little bit later because obviously we'll all be watching the Grand Chess Tour, even me included. Let's see if Carlsen can come back and still win it. Don't give your opponent play. I love it, Alvin. This is one of the things I love doing. I love giving them nothing. I want them to sit there and want to just kill themselves because they can't move anything. You know what I mean? So that's a very Karpov kind of way to look at it, you know, the anaconda style, you know, just wrapping around the guy and just squeezing slowly, you know, until the last breath comes out of him. So okay, so yeah, so if you guys can obviously come and play the simul, we'll see how many opponents we can get going. Then I'll see you guys later tonight. Cheers, guys. Have a fun afternoon.